What's going on YouTube? Jamie the Kid 00 here, coming at you guys with probably the most budget deck that I will profile to you guys in quite a while. I'm going to bring you guys a profile of the Heraldic Beast deck. A lot of people have been interested in this archetype because it has some really interesting cards. And I definitely think if it had more of a push, maybe a TCG exclusive, it would have become, I don't know, I don't want to say competitive, but actually half decent. At the moment, this is literally just a first draft because I don't know where to go with this deck too much. This is the build I've been testing on Dueling Network, and it wins some games. It's definitely quite slow at the start, and then late game it generates advantage because it has some really powerful spell cards. But it's getting the desired setup, and this deck really does require Daigusto Emerald and Lavalval Chain to operate correctly. So the problem is if we don't have Emerald and Chain, this deck is really quite bad. But I'm just going to get into the list, and you'll see why we need Emerald and Chain. I'm actually playing Emerald and Chain in here as proxies. This is only a 13-card extra deck, because I don't actually own copies of them. But we'll go through the deck, and it will become apparent immediately why you need those cards. So, to start off the profile, we play 3 of the best cards in the deck, Heraldic Beast, Leo. This is ideally what you want to kind of have in your opening hand, or just at least have pretty damn quick. This is a guy who, when you normal summon him, he will die at the end of the turn, and any time he is sent to the graveyard, that's any time from anywhere, he will search you a Heraldic Beast except for himself to your hand. So this guy has the same ruling as Dandelion and Torbust. If this guy is detached from an Xyz, it will get its effect. So remember that if anyone tries to tell you differently. Moving on, well, that kind of explains why we need Lavalval Chain in this deck, simply because you need to be able to send this to grave. He is a free rotor whenever he's sent to the graveyard, so you can make Lavalval Chain plays, send him to the graveyard, and then get Abercrombie to your hand, because this deck really needs Abercrombies. Moving on, we'll talk about Abercrombie now. So the other thing that you're going to want to engrave relatively quickly is Heraldic Beast Abercrombie. Abercrombie is cool because when you have 2 of him in the grave, you can banish 1 to get a Heraldic Beast back to your hand, which will almost always be Leo. You'll then add the Leo back to the hand, make an Xyz play with Leo, and then detach the Leo to get a search. Usually search out another Abercrombie, get that Abercrombie into the graveyard, add the Leo back, and so on and so forth. So it gives you a few advantage plays that allows you to get stuff back to hand. The main issue with this deck is its special summoning speed. You can't double summon very well with this deck, and you'll see the kind of really weird text that I include to give you the ability to double summon, because it's the one way the deck loses out. It's Xyz-centric, but it doesn't have the speed to get 2 monsters on board at the same time early game. So continuing on, we play 3 Heraldic Beast Basilisk. Originally I was playing 1 of these, but in light of a few of the other cards I play in this deck, Heraldic Beast Basilisk becomes incredible. It's only 1000 attack, 1400 defense, but when he is out, anything that battles with him dies after damage step. So, well, after damage calculation. So he's quite good if you play him correctly, I guess. He's like a Raikou. He's like a bigger Raikou. Then, as one tech that I'm trying out, I play 1 Heraldic Beast Unicorn. I don't like Double Eagle. Unicorn I play because of this guy, because Unicorn can revive him from the graveyard, and you can keep reviving a 2/4. Well, you can revive a 2/4 once, so I don't know, he's alright. He is just good for your second Xyz material, I guess. But I don't know, if you want to cut him, I'd cut him. He's not that great. Continuing on with the non-Heraldic Beast stuff, this is what we play to account for our double summons. I played double Photon Thrasher. 3 was good, but 2 is the perfect number in testing. The objective will normally be to special summon this guy, normal summon Leo, make an Xyz, detach Leo, get a search, and do crazy things like that. And then the other 2 double summoners I play are actually 2 Goblinberg. It's the first deck I've ever played Goblinberg in, because I think it's awful otherwise. Goblinberg is cool because he can dodge around Bottomless. If you drop Goblinberg and then special summon Heraldic Beast Basilisk, you've dodged around Bottomless, and then you can go into Mace Stroke and things like that. So it's just really trollsy. And both Goblinberg and Thrasher are warriors, so they are tutorable with Reinforcement of the Army. But they are essential to your early game plays. As I said, late game, your spells will give you your double summons, but early game, you really need these double summoners to give you your plays. So yes, you have to play some bad cards, but it gives the deck a bit more consistency. Then continuing on, we play Double Tragodia. I've experienced that in this deck you hold cards quite a lot, or you'll only use 1 to 2 cards a turn. So a lot of the time you're not really going to be minusing. You're going to have a hand of about 4 or 5 cards, and then even in bad situations, you can just wait until the last damage your opponent would deal to you, drop the Trag, and then normal summon next turn one of your level 4s. Change this guy to a level 4, and then at least Xyz, and get your Xyz plays. So he's incredibly valid in the deck. I really like him, so why not? And if you're playing against another level 4 deck, this guy's really awesome because you can go get this out after damage, discard Leo from your hand, take control of an opponent's monster, get a search, copy level 4, Xyz with the opponent's monster that you stole, and just does really trollsy shenanigans. And then the last monster is Gauze, because Gauze is good. And this deck doesn't play any continuous spell traps. Continuing on to the spells, this is where the real power of the deck is. There are some crazy spells in here. So we're playing 1 Reborn, 1 Dark Hole, and 1 Storm for our Trinity, 1 Book, and 1 Rota. Rota for, of course, the warrior monsters you saw before. Book is just really helpful in this deck, because you do need to control your opponent sometimes, because a lot of decks will outspeed you. Then 1 Foolish, because Foolish will give you 3 pluses off of Leo. You just Foolish a Leo, get a search. So it's basically a Heraldic Rota, but you can't search Leo. So you usually use this to ditch Leo and get your Abercrombie to hand, but it's interesting. Then for the last kind of generic cards, I played double MST, because 3 is too many in this format. No further questions. Then for the awesomeness spells, we play 3 copies of Heraldic Reborn. To explain this card, it is Monster Reborn for Heraldics. It is just straight, play this, get a Heraldic back from your graveyard. So what's not to like about that? And then if you thought that wasn't broken enough, so you're already getting a Monster Reborn for the Archetype. They then have 3 Miracle Fusions, 3 Advanced Heraldry Art. Basically, you play this, you get 2 Heraldic Beasts from your graveyard, which could be, oh, I don't know, 2 of these, you get your 2 Heraldic Beasts from your grave, then they immediately have to be Xyz. Doesn't matter what the Xyz monster is, as long as it's legal, they have to then be immediately Xyzed. So you then go, oh, play this, Xyz 2 Leos, you've now got 2 searches, because those Leos are going to go to grave, and their effects cannot miss timing, because they are not you-can effects. So, crazy! So these spells are insane, but just getting to them is the trick. When you get to them, you can make big plays, but when you don't find them, you will find yourself in sticky situations. And that rounds off our spell lineup. For the traps, I know a lot of people don't like these, but I'm playing double Heraldry Change. This again fits in with the topic of, oh dear, we need more ways to get our monsters out. Now, again, on the topic of holding monsters, if you are in a bad situation anyway and you're not able to double summon stuff, this will give you your opportunity to, you'll almost always have a Heraldic Beast in hand, so you can have the opportunity of just setting this and flipping it, just to get that first summon, to get your plays rolling early game. It's, I don't know, it's something that I've been testing and it's worked quite well. I know it's vulnerable to MST and it's a really dead draw if you top deck it, but I like these. It just gets you other ways to double summon. Then, continuing on, we play double Call of the Haunted, because this card is broken with Leo. It's the same way that it was broken with Sangan, but again, it also helps with the double summon. So you're playing 6 Monster Reborns in this deck, so I hear that's good. You can also Call of the Haunted Basilisk. So your opponent, if your opponent wants to attack over that Basilisk, they're going to have to lose their own monster. So that's kind of good. Double Compulse, because at the moment I just really like Compulse over things like Bottomless in this deck. Compulse is just going to remove whatever you want to remove, at least for a turn, whereas Bottomless is a bit more iffy. Then continuing, we play 2 Torrential, but I just realised I've forgotten to put the second one in. So 2 Torrential. Because you have the advantage plays to get stuff back out with your Reborns and your Call of the Hornets, and you can compulse stuff to hand. Double Warning, because warning is warning, and then the Judgment to make sure your plays go off. So that is the whole main deck. The extra deck is really hodgepodge at the moment, because there's a lot of stuff that isn't released in Europe, like Blackcorn, Love Oval Chain, and Daigusto Emerald, so we have to make do with what I've got here. This is a 13-card extra deck, as I explained. The first 2 cards in this extra deck would be Lavavel Chain, because Lavavel Chain can ditch you Abercromways and Leos to graveyard to get you pluses. And Daigusto Emerald is really essential for just putting your stuff back in the deck so that Leo can search it. So, let's actually get into the proper extra deck. Now, we're going to start off with 2 of the best monsters in the extra deck. it's kind of situational, but in my opinion, when the situation arises, it's incredible. I'm going to read this effect to you. This is number 8, Heraldic King Genome Heritage. Takes 2 level 4 Heraldic Beast monsters, and it's got 2,400 attack and 1,800 defense. Once per turn, you can target one face-up Xyz monster your opponent controls. This card's name and original attack become that monster's name and current attack. This card's effect then becomes that monster's original effect. Then that monster's attack becomes 0, and its effects are negated. These changes last until the end phase. So he makes your opponent's monster 0 attack and gives it no effect, stealing its attack and stealing its effect. That's really quite something. I mean, I've even made plays where I've just had like a Leo on board that was safe summoned, or another Xyz, and I've gone this, copy Gachi. Okay, your defense is still huge, but I'm just going to attack over your 1,800 defense. You'll instantly die, and my guy's powered up for this turn. So, and you can just copy really big things as well. Like your opponent has a big eye out, you can copy the big eye and nick their big eye. So you can just do silly things like that. And it just puts in so many fun plays. Any Xyz monster, this guy can copy and then kill. Any Xyz monster will copy and kill, as long as it doesn't have more than 2,400 defense, or more defense than it has attack, because of course it's going to copy that monster's attack. But I really like this card. It is the Synchro Killer. Sorry, the Xyz Killer. If I've been saying Synchro, I'm sorry. Xyz Killer. It's just so much fun. Then continuing on, we play one Cowboy because he's a good level 4. Kills BLS. Long story short. We play one Lightning Chidori, or Lightning Plover as it was in the OCG. This is really cool because you can make him off of 2 Abercromways, and he's awesome because when you play him, you get to spin a set card to the top of your opponent's deck, and then you get to immediately activate his effect, detach a material, bounce a face-up card to the top of the deck. So already you've spun 2 cards to the top of the deck, you're delaying them for 2 draws, so Chidori is good, and you can make it in this deck. You're not going to make it all the time, you're hardly going to make it, but when you can make it, it's good. We then play one Papillaperative because Papillaperative is boss. Double Utopia because Utopia is just a generic 4. Double Maestroke because it's double Maestroke. It's kind of good. One Gemlight Pearl for muscle. Again, this extra deck is, as I said, really hodgepodge. There's so many 4s. It just makes 4s. So we just play loads of 4s. Then we play 2 Warrior exclusives in the form of Excalibur and Blade Armor Ninja, just because you play Thrasher and Goblinberg, and the ability to make these is good. And Blade Armor Ninja is just such a good card. Like, after playing Noble Knights loads, this card is so good. And then the last card in the extra deck is number 16, Shockmaster, because Shockmaster is Shockmaster, and if you can make it, you can make it, and it's a good card to have. Otherwise, that's about everything I want to talk about the deck. At the moment, I am a bit of a novice about it, so sorry to any of you experienced Heraldic Beast players who want to tell me I'm wrong. If you want to tell me I'm wrong, be nice about it, but please do point out mistakes I've made or better builds that you have, because I'm definitely interested to hear about them, because this deck, I think, has a lot of potential, but at the moment, I haven't been able to come up with a build that is consistent enough to make it basically competitive versus tier 1 decks like Mermails. So, please guys, feel free to let me know what you are thinking in the comment section below, and otherwise, I think that's about everything. This has been Jamie the Kid 00, and I'll see you next time with probably some dual commentaries. Peace out, guys.